Coming up in today's Locked On Angels, do the Halos have any interest in Carlos Rodon, potentially bringing him to be a part of the Angels rotation? We're going to answer that and many other questions right now in today's episode of Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Locked On Angels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day every single day. I'm your host, Steve Granado. You can shoot me a follow over on Twitter at Steve Granado, Granado. As I mentioned, we're going to be answering your questions here today. You shot us some questions over on Twitter over the last day or so, and so we are going to go ahead and get to those here today. Let's start with a direct message I recently received over on Twitter. Of course, I'm at Steve Granado and at Locked On Angels. Let's go ahead and start here. This is coming from Daniel J. Cameron. It says, "Hey, Steve, I'm curious why there has been no talk of the Angels going after someone like Carlos Rodon, who the White Sox did not give a qualifying offer to. I think he would be a great starter in the rotation with Ohtani and Thor." Thanks, Daniel, for checking in here. Again, we put out our tweet on Sundays for you to be a part of our Monday shows. That's how we're doing it here in the offseason, so you can always be a part of our shows moving forward. So let's go ahead and answer this question. So I think there's a bit of a imperfect storm, if you will, that happened with this situation. So just to recap, I'm sure that many Angels fans are well versed in what happened at the end of the pre-lockout era, I guess we can call it now. But just as a recap, right, there was that flurry of free agent signings and then deadline, lockout, boom, we're out, right? So I think what happened here is you aren't hearing any of these rumors because Carlos Rodon was not high on the Angels' priority list, at least here in the early part of the offseason. And I think that might be the case throughout all of Major League Baseball, right? Carlos Rodon was not the top echelons, was not garnering the interest that your Robbie Rays, Marcus Stroman's, Max Scherzer's, Kevin Gausman's were, right? He just wasn't up at that level. No knock on Carlos Rodon, but, there are tiers to this thing. So everybody was clearly going to be going after the bigger free agent pitchers, especially as it was obvious that they wanted to sign before the lockout, right? So I think that's kind of what happened here is now that we have hit this lockout, the Angels don't necessarily, or maybe just in general, like rumors have just kind of stopped, right? This doesn't mean that the Angels or other teams aren't shopping around or thinking about or, trying to figure out what their their offseason plan is right now. Because that's certainly not the case. They still are doing that, and they can negotiate trades and all that kind of stuff. We've detailed that out last week on the show, but they can't obviously talk to the players right now as far as garnering major league free agent signings. They can't do that right now. They could do it for the minor leagues, but they can't do it for major leagues. So that's probably why we're not hearing anything about that or any ties to it, because typically the people or the way we get that information is it's leaked, quote unquote, by agents to try and drum up more interest, to try and see if they can get a couple extra bucks for their clients, things like that, right? So that's usually how we get those kinds of rumors. Obviously, there's other ways we get them, but typically that's usually how we're getting rumors like that. So when there is no conversation between agent, player, and major league team, there's no information to leak. So that's probably why we haven't heard any rumors. I imagine the Angels are interested in Carlos Rodon. But right now, we're probably not going to hear anything about that for quite some time until this lockout ends. Maybe the wheels turn quickly after there, but right now that is just not going to be the case. So that's why we haven't heard it. Again, I would imagine the Angels do have interest now that the top tier guys are gone off the market. They're going to start shifting into that area. But it's an interesting thought. Let me know how you feel about bringing Carlos to the Angels. Thanks for your question, Daniel. Let's hop to another question here today. This is coming from at SoMessedUp3 on Twitter, saying, what's your thoughts on the league using two different balls this season? Ohtani's debut on the mound at Yankee Stadium in June. You think this factored into it? Even within the same games, apparently both balls were used, and those in the know then would have known by batch, etc. Thanks for your question. I think this is the first time you've checked in here. Okay, so the two balls thing, we have to go back a little bit. This was at the end of November. This report came out on Business Insider, if I remember correctly, that Major League Baseball was using two different balls in the 2021 season that were potentially drastically different. One that flew and one that died, essentially, kind of to dumb it down or water it down a little bit there. On that game you're speaking of, the one at Yankee Stadium was like his only bad one of the year, right? Or truly bad one of the year. Do I think it factored into it? I'm not going to sit here and get conspiracy on it. It could have. I don't know how drastic the difference was between the balls. I mean, it's enough to where the players seem a little shocked at this. I'll leave a link to the full report. I'll leave a link to the Yahoo report in the episode description if you're curious to reading into this further about it. I'm not going to go into great details about the 2-ball situation because honestly, we're still kind of waiting to see how more information come out about it. It's still relatively new. But as far as it having an effect on Ohtani, I will go as far as say that it would be a little out there to go, yeah, man, Major League Baseball was coming out to change the balls and things like that. While I don't think that's completely impossible, I think that's improbable. Could they have done something like that? Sure. I mean, they own Rawlings and, they control the ball, and they could do something like that if they really wanted to, I guess, but I just don't see the benefit of them doing that, and I don't think that was probably what was going on there. As far as it affecting Shohei in that game, it could be, but if you're trying to single out that one game, it wasn't like he was giving up bomb after bomb after bomb, right? It was, if my memory serves correct here, it was like just kind of a lot of singles and bloops and things like that, if I remember that game correctly without going back and rewatching it. So I wouldn't say that it was the number one factor. Guys have bad days. Even Shohei has a bad day. We know this. That's just how baseball works. So it's an interesting thought. I'll give you that much. I'm not going to sit here and shout from the rooftop and say that Major League Baseball was screwing with Shohei on that game. I would probably not go that far, but it is interesting that you bring that up, especially now that we have this scope to view it in. So thanks so much for your tweet here. We have one more in this segment. We have a voicemail a little bit later. One last question here in this first segment. It's coming from Hordes. Hey, Hordes, thanks for checking again. They say, do you think Rendon will play a full season next year and be able to be a reliable bat in the lineup? I know he had his struggles the last couple of years. Thanks so much for your question. Again, you can always tweet us your questions on Sundays to get your question on Monday. That's at Locked On Angels. Okay, Rendon, Anthony Rendon. Yeah, I think if the Angels get 30 games, call it a win. The thing about Anthony Rendon was the hip surgery, right? That's what we learned is the other nagging injuries that he had been dealing with all stemmed, apparently this is according to him and his doctors, but it had stemmed from his hip problem, right? They were all like ailing things that kind of spun off of that hip problem. So that's the one thing I think Angels fans can look to now and go, okay, well, he got the hip fixed. In theory, that means that this problem is fixed, this problem, like the knee and all that kind of stuff, those are feeling better as a result of that hip surgery. So hopefully, and it looks like everything that we've seen about Anthony Rendon, the most recent words that I've seen coming from him through the media is saying that he's ready for spring training, or at least he anticipates being ready for spring training. So that is a really good sign. So give him 130 games, 140, and I call it a win. The thing is Anthony Rendon, we know the bat that he possesses, especially in that 2019 run. So even if you get anything close to that, call it a win, right? Anything close to that is a plus if you're doing comparisons to the 2021 season. So that's the eyes that I want to view this in moving into 2022 is any Anthony Rendon, over 115 to 150 games is a win. Even if it's a lower production year, because it's going to be a net positive, right, over 2021. So I like to err on the positive side and say that, you know what, maybe you get a silver slugger out of them. There you go. That would be the best case scenario, right? But yeah, I think that hip, hopefully everything that we've read, everything that we've learned is that hip was the source of many problems. It is ironed out, and it looks like he should be good to go for 2022. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another one that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for all the other good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no more new devices ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Back here on Locked On Angels, your first listen of the day. Okay, let's jump to a voicemail that we have here. All right, let's jump to it.
Hey, Steve. My name is Josh. I really like the show. I just wanted to mention the fact that we obviously know we need pitching. That's more than obvious. But I wanted to talk about the shortstop situation. I know that there's Kyler Wade, there's Rengifo, there's Mayfield. But I honestly think these three guys are more of like off the bench kind of guys. So I was wondering, like, wouldn't it be smart for the Halos to either go for someone, say, like a Trevor Story, or maybe even sign Jose Iglesias back for like a 2-3 year deal, while trying to draft someone that could be the future shortstop for this club? You know, in today's episode, you mentioned the top 41 prospects for the Angels. None of them really stand out. You know, even that Arrow Vera guy, to me, he doesn't seem like he's going to be a next big thing kind of guy. So what do you think about that?
Hey, Josh, thanks so much for your voicemail. You can always call us 714-409-6396. I believe this is the first time Josh has called in. If so, hello. If not, good to hear your voice again. We got a lot of calls from a bunch of different people. But yeah, you're asking about the shortstop situation. You mentioned Aurel Vera there. You mentioned Jose Iglesias. We actually got a tweet about this as well over on Twitter. This was coming from Manny over on Twitter, at Manny_G18, said, what are your thoughts on the Angels shortstop situation? I personally would love to see Luis Rengifo have a shot because he's a switch-hitting shortstop, and especially based upon his workout videos this offseason, he's looking huge. He's been working out with the World Series MVP. He's alluding to Jorge Soler. He then replied and said, and additionally to Rengifo, I'd love to see what Andrew Velasquez could do with significant playing time, especially with him being a switch hitter too, along with Rengifo. Thanks, Manny. Thanks, Josh. Let's talk about the shortstop situation. We did talk about this in a previous episode. It was a little bit ago, so we'll go ahead and talk about it now. As far as, Josh, I want to start with you, obviously, with the voicemail we listened to just a second ago. The reunion with Jose Iglesias, man, I would go ahead and say that that's probably out of the cards. I wouldn't anticipate that. The way the 2021 season shook out for him and the defensive woes and some of the offensive woes, and yes, he had a good resurgence there with the Red Sox. More power to him, man. I'm happy for him. Great that he was able to figure it out in Boston. As far as having a reunion, I think that might be a little out of the cards. Wouldn't rule it out, but it just doesn't seem like there's much interest there from the Angels. Kind of a been there, done that, maybe. Again, that's not Bible or law. That could totally happen still. There's nothing stopping it. I just don't know how much interest that there is there of bringing him back, you know. It just doesn't seem likely. Aurel Vera, yeah, we talked about it on Wednesday's episode, I believe, maybe Thursday's. I don't know. They all blur at this point last week. But yeah, we talked about the top 41 prospects in the new Fangraphs list for the Angels. And yeah, Aurel Vera's was the number 3. And he's just a couple of years away still, so it doesn't seem like he's going to be a factor in 2022. But going to Manny, yeah, talking about Luis Rengifo, talking about Andrew Velasquez, obviously throw in Tyler Wade in that conversation as well. That, again, is something that we talked about recently, but something that I am very excited about is having this battle in spring training, and a lot is going to be made up in spring training. You know, we're trying to figure out the last time the Angels just had a flat out shortstop opening, and it's been a really long time, right? You go back, it's Jose Iglesias, Andrelton Simmons, Eric Ibar, Orlando Cabrera. Like, you just keep going back and back further, and the shortstop position has been really good in the 2000s for the Angels, right? All the way back to the David Eckstein era, right? So there have been some really good shortstops in, and you go all the way back to, the Grich days. So the prospect of having it open is really, really intriguing to me. And I've talked about this multiple times. I could be wrong, but everything that we've seen with the Angels kind of stacking up these lower end, quote unquote, guys to fight for a shortstop position, it doesn't seem likely that the Angels are going after any of the big free agent shortstops, your Trevor Stories of the world, Corey Seager in the past, obviously, he's in Texas now. Or Carlos Correa. I know that's divisive in its own right. Won't even get into that. But yeah, I just don't foresee the Angels really going after a shortstop just based on everything that we've seen. I could be wrong, I could always be wrong. Just by the way, I have no insight to the team that is, outside of reading things that you guys are reading as well. But it just doesn't seem likely. That's where my head goes is, yes, we've talked about money on this show 1,000 times over. And again, we're not going to rehash that conversation. But yeah, the Angels could, right? If they didn't care about this luxury tax and Artie didn't care and he just wanted to go spend money like crazy, he completely could. He's one of the richest owners in all of baseball. So he could totally go do it. He can go sign Carlos Correa and Trevor Story if he really wanted to. That could definitely happen. But is that likely? I don't think so. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it just doesn't seem like either of those guys or any big shortstop splash is going to happen for the Angels in this offseason. This holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar. Built Bar is filled with so much holiday goodness, rich and decadent flavor covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat. And of course, it's high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. And there's a bunch of different flavors. You're going to have a hard time choosing, I promise. You got raspberry, mint brownie, cherry, double chocolate, cookies and cream, peanut butter brownie, and of course, those new ones, the Built Bar Puffs. They're light, fluffy, and marshmallowy through and through, different flavors, all covered in chocolate. They taste so good, and you're not going to believe that they are filled with protein. If you need that extra fuel to bust down those mall doors and battle the holiday shoppers, throw a Built Bar or two into your jacket or purse. And of course, you can always ask Santa to fill those stockings with them as well. I got a promo code for you. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order at Built.com. And this episode is also brought to you by BetOnline. They have you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues the march to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use promo code LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Back here on Locked On Angels, your first listen of the day, final segment. And we got a couple of fun questions here today. Hey, I know you guys like to talk Angels and stuff, but hey, honestly, it's the off season. Let's have a little bit of fun as well. So we got a couple of fun questions here today. Feel free to send these in at any time as well. This is coming from Cody. Hey, Cody, thanks for checking in on the shows again. That's at @A_Cody. Okay, this is a fun one. If you could swap out 3 current Angels with any former Angels player, who would you pick? Preferably not all pitching. How well do you think the team would do? Okay, so this is fun one, right? Swap out 3 Angels with former Angels players. So kind of building a bit of a fantasy roster of Angels history with a caveat that you only get 3 changes. Okay. You could easily go your Rod Carews and Mark Langston, and you could do all that kind of stuff, sure, but I'm not going to do that because that's not fun. That's obvious. I want to swap out, or swap in, I should say, Juan Rivera. I just miss watching Juan Rivera play. I know he wasn't an all-star or anything crazy, but he had a pretty darn good career in Anaheim. Couple of years here over, close towards a decade or so, a little over half a decade in Anaheim. And I just really enjoyed watching him play defense. I enjoyed watching him swing the bat. He swung with such gusto. I don't know. I really liked Juan Rivera in left field. So to have Juan Rivera in left field, let's go ahead and throw him out there. Let's go ahead and vacate or fill that vacated shortstop hole. Give me Eric Ibar back. I know it's the same era. I love Eric Ibar, man. He was one of my favorite players growing up as a kid. So to see Eric play up short, it's let's go Ibar and Fletch at short and second. That's pretty fun. And I just kind of liked what Eric brought to the game. Just a hard nose to the grindstone, run things out and get the job done kind of guy, and also dazzled us with that glove, right? So I want Eric Ibar at short. And I don't know. Give me Nolan Ryan. You said don't go all pitching, preferably not all pitching, but you got to give me one. Give me one. Give me Nolan Ryan, man. Give me a true bulldog ace back on the mound. Give me a guy that's going to throw me a couple no-nos. Yeah, give me that. Give me Nolan Ryan on the hill. Any day, anytime. I'll take it. Let me know in your comment section down below here on YouTube, what 3 Angels would you swap out with? That's a very fun prospect. Again, it's like constructing an all-time roster, but not constructing an all-time roster. So thanks, Cody, for your question. That was a fun one. Okay, we have one more here on today's episode. Zach, if you were a pitcher, would you rather have pinpoint accuracy and decent velocity, low 90s, or would you rather have high velocity, 98 plus, and average accuracy? Thanks, Zach. So I stopped pitching at 11 or 12. I think that was maybe even 10, and switched to behind the plate full time. I was a catcher all the way to my club ball days in college. Did a little bit of outfield as well, but mostly caught. So I did not even sniff getting anywhere near these types of numbers, pitching wise, not even close. Man, this is a tough one. I think, you know what? It's hard to teach velocity, and it's easier to teach accuracy. So I'm going to go high velocity, average accuracy. I'm going to go 98 plus. Give me those big numbers, and I'll figure it out as I go. There's plenty of guys right now in Major League Baseball that have been in that camp, right? 17 years old, throws 98, and then by the time they're 23 and up in the show, they figured out the accuracy. So I'm going to take that, Zach. I think that's my safer bet, right? Is 98 plus with average accuracy. Again, let me know in the comment section down below which ones you guys would select. Of course, if you're not watching on our YouTube side, at Locked On Angels over on Twitter, shoot us a tweet and let us know which ones you would pick. You can follow me as well at Steve Granado. Our voicemail line is 714-409-6396. Check out my other podcasts. They are linked in the episode description as well. A baseball docuseries called Our Game and a movie review podcast called Movies I Should Have Watched. They're both completely different, but a ton of fun. If you're looking for off-season stuff, I got you covered. Go check them out right now. They are linked in the episode description. I want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. For your second, check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us in today's episode of Locked On Angels. We're still 5 days a week this week. Coming up tomorrow on Locked On Angels, we're going to be joined with Athletic Angels writer Sam Blum. He's going to be on the show for tomorrow. Super exciting as we get to chat a little Angels baseball with one of the guys that covers the Halos. All right, that's coming up tomorrow, 5 days a week right here, everywhere. Thanks for checking us out. I'm Steve Granado. Later.